Welcome to Crown Radio Station's Real Talk. I'm your host, Dani B. Get ready to dive deep into candid conversations with your favorite Christian creatives. We'll explore their struggles, how they trusted God through setbacks, and so much more. And stay locked in as we go ball for ball with today's leading Christian hip hop artists, revealing the inspiration behind their lyrics and their journey. You already know what it is. It's Real Talk, the source for all things Christian creative, with your girl, Dani B. Let's go. Talk with Dani B. And guess what, y'all? I got my brother in the building, Derek Minor. How are you doing today, good sir?
What's happening? What's up?
What it do? Well, y'all, let's get straight into the conversation because I'm gonna share. We're gonna have story time real quick. And but before we get into story time, okay. For those of you who know who Derek Minor is, we know he's the OG in the Christian hip hop game. But to those who may be new to Christian hip hop, could you just share, quickly if you want to, but you got all the time you need to really share with our listeners who is Derek Minor?
Yeah, so my name is Derek Miner. I'm a artist, producer. I own a record label called Reflection Music Group. I also own a record label called RMG Amplify, where we take independent artists and we help scale them and help make them back against the wall of my strength. So where we teach
y'all, I gotta tell y'all a quick story about me and my brother in
so
Christ
that's
right
really
here. So your
my
girl
main thing.
had a meeting
I'm very
for Crown
passionate
Radio
about community.
Station
I'm
with your
very
brother.
passionate
And
about
let me tell you,
God,
my
and I'm
mother
very
passed, not my
passionate
mother,
about
my
seeing people
grandmother passed
prosper.
away.
So
And
that's my spiel.
I was like,
That's my
I'm going to
elevator
this
pitch.
meeting. That's so elevated. And
What?
so I got on it. Let's
Y'all
get
know
to the
how
next
Atlanta
level on this conversation.
Atlanta
Traffic is. I was like, I'm gonna make this meeting. Didn't make it. Had to cancel. Had to reschedule. Rescheduled a meeting with my brother. We get in the room, y'all. Whole time, didn't record the whole conversation. We was here having a dang, do you hear me? I was like, God, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, what is really like, because I'm coming across real amateur right now. I'm really concerned, right? But then we go reschedule after that because your sister tore that one up, and then my brother had death in his family right there after. And so here we are today. And so I really wanted to hone into that because that week, that even the one I was trying to make, and then finally when we got together, my grandmother had passed. That was my husband's 6th anniversary of him passing. And I felt overwhelmed. I just kind of was like, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I gotta arrive, but I don't feel my best. And so I want you to really share just your journey with healing, because I know you shared, your dad passing away, your mother having cancer. We all go through those situations. What has your healing journey looked like? And was there any shift in your relationship with Christ during that time?
Yeah, so you know, this is healing is interesting because I think sometimes we think of healing as a destination,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really I feel like it's a journey. It's like
Yeah.
you're constantly healing. Like when you think about your body,
Yeah.
your body is constantly things are dying in your body and things are being reborn.
Right.
Like cells are dying and cells are being reborn all
Right.
the time.
Right.
I feel like life is very similar. Like we're all in this process of things in our life that are transitioning away as we have
Yeah.
things transitioning in. Um, and that was hard for me to grasp because I had a odd perspective that one day it was just gonna. I never forget. Like I was on the tour with Lecrae one day early on in our career. He said, "Man, you want paradise on earth." I
Mm.
didn't understand what he said, but
Yeah.
it was now I'm like, yeah, I think he had an early understanding that things are not gonna be perfect all the
Right.
time. They're
Right.
gonna always be in shifting and they're gonna be in flux all
Right.
the time. And healing is the ability to manage the shifting.
Yeah.
It's the ability to manage that well with
Yeah.
focus and manage that with joy. And that's what my journey has been. So, growing up in a house where, you know, my father wasn't really present because my mom had moved us away, but then also he was kind of in the streets.
Yeah.
And then my stepdad was in the church, but he had a addict, he's an addict.
Um,
So he had issues. And then when they both passed away, now I got these fatherhood things that are
mm,
unresolved. And I don't even have them to help me resolve them. You know what I
right.
mean?
Right.
And then just as you get older, you start losing friends and you
Yeah.
lose whatever. But what I found is that the thing that is consistent, or the thing that has helped me, is been having my faith.
Amen.
Like me and God, we ain't always I ain't always been the best son. I ain't always
Absolutely. Yeah.
but I've always tried to run to God with my problems, and I ain't always understood stuff. I
Yeah.
done yelled at the sky screaming like, God, what's going on? I think
Right, right,
everybody has
right.
done that before.
Right. Absolutely.
But it's been the faith and the consistency and knowing that like God is in control
Yeah.
and that he wants the best for us. I think that's something that we forget, is
Yeah.
that he's in control, but he also wants the best for us. And just knowing that has been helpful in my healing journey. But another thing that's been helpful in my healing journey has been actually the internal work of asking myself, why do I get angry over certain things?
That's
Why do
good.
certain things make me sad? I
Yeah.
even found out that around a certain time of year when my dad passed away, I normally start getting sad.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's because it's the trauma of that season. It's
Yes.
such an impactful moment.
Yes.
Whenever that season comes back around, I don't even know why I'm antsy. I'm fussing at the kids. I'm got a bad perspective, and it's because I know that I'm like, okay, I know
Right.
around this time everything's gonna be fine, and it's helped me process that. So that's another thing, is actually doing the internal work, and I feel like some people are good at either or. It's like they do the internal work, but they forget about God, or they throw themselves into the church and they forget about doing the internal work.
No,
I
that's a
think
good one right
both.
there.
Yeah.
And I think when you brought up just like dealing with the father piece of it, and you have young men, right?
Yeah.
And so how have you as a parent really allowed and made space for them to vocalize healing, to really talk about disappointment and hurt? Because in the Black community, with our young Black men, we want to raise them up to be tough, to be strong. The world is hard itself. So how
Yeah.
you as a parent just really balance that for them, and especially because you had those traumas prior to?
Yeah. Well, this is all new for me. I'm
Yeah.
one of those millennial parents that aren't as strict as my parents.
Yeah.
I literally just had a situation today. My son was having the craziest, or it was yesterday. My son, we had a bad day.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel like the path of me opening him to have conversation and to talk about what he feels
Yes.
is going to help him better in the future than me just taking his video game system away and telling him not to talk about it and just go upstairs.
Right.
Right. So what I've tried to do is create a situation where I talk to my kids just like me and you talk.
Right. Right.
Um, but at the same that, and that has its pros and cons, because sometimes they forget that they talking to daddy,
I'm trying to
and
tell you.
I have to be like, look, we done talking. So then the
That's all.
disciplinarian has to come out.
That's
But
all right.
I really want to be able to, one, have a relationship with my kids where we do talk, but then two, to train them how to vocalize.
Mm,
And as a parent, that's often hard
yeah,
because we really just want them to mind and do what we ask them to do. And
absolutely.
sometimes them having the ability to speak makes it frustrating for us.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to deal in that tension and that nuance
No,
of,
that's good.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it builds up emotional intelligence. I think, us growing up in the church too, because I was talking to somebody the other day just about when my husband passed. I remember we went to a church and we were just, they were sharing about loss. And I was like, oh, this, that. And that Sister May, I don't know her, I don't know this lady, but she was like, he in heaven with God. You need to get over that, girl. You need to move on. Like, and it's that old school approach, to like, you're gonna be all right, be quiet, move along, right? And so it's a beautiful thing that you allow for your kids to open up. And that kind of leads us into like where I know just the other day you kind of posted about one of your friends and you said everything you want is on the other side of your comfort, right? And
Mhm.
just like talking about being a parent out of the box, that's out of our parents' comfort zone, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
in general, just being out, getting out of your comfort zone. How have you, as an artist in Christian hip hop, navigated out of your comfort zone, and then not just as an artist, but as a person?
Yeah, so as an artist, it's my path has been interesting because I've always kind of bucked the system. To, sometimes it's been good, sometimes it's been bad, but um, what I desire out of my career is to have one that I don't feel like uh, was just me just doing things strictly for commerce.
Mm,
It's like I want to do things because I care about them and I'm passionate about it.
yeah,
And I don't, I could seriously say that I don't look through my catalog and feel like, oh, I'm just doing all of this for money. Like some
yeah.
stuff is fun experiments that, like I do like I'm literally about to drop. Uh, I'll put it this way: I have a moniker that's not Derek Minor that
Hmm.
is going to have a country album come out pretty soon,
Okay.
and it's a little secret album, and I did it for fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a fun thing. It's also one of those things that it'll be used on like ESPN and
Okay.
outdoors and all that. But it was
Right.
fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've always wanted to do in my career is be able to say, okay, I'm not just a Christian rapper. It's not
Mhm.
that I don't think Christian rap is valuable. It's
Right.
super valuable. I do it. That's where I cut my teeth. That's where I built my whole career. But I also like to make a country album. I like to make uh, alternative music, and I
Hmm.
don't. And what I've done is I've created a career that reflects that. And that's not most marketing people would tell you that's not the best thing to do. They're like, when you find something you're good at and that's working, stick with it. But it's like I'm like, nah, the comfort that's not comfortable, or that is comfortable for me. That's not fun for me. Right.
Mm,
So it's like I gotta do something that matters. And even if that means I might miss out on a little bit of money.
mm,
Um, the flip side of that, just as a person, I
yeah.
really been trying to dive into resting because
Mm,
I'm a workaholic,
yeah.
and honestly, resting isn't comfortable for me. It's not. It's which is crazy,
Yeah.
but I find a lot of value in producing, and
Hmm.
I found out a good friend of mine spoke into my life and said, "You have to start finding joy and rest." And
Yeah.
that's kind of what's been, and it's been uncomfortable. But this is what I did when he told me that. I gave the keys to my wife, and I
Mm,
told my wife, I said, "Here's the keys. Whenever you see me getting off the road, just take over." And
mm,
I told her, I'm like, so if I'm on my phone too much, or if
yeah.
if I'm working more than you know I should be working, like it's okay for you to come in and to hold me accountable to resting and having margin. And sometimes you have to let someone else speak into your life
Right.
and trust them to be
Yeah.
able to help you with that. So
No,
uh,
that's good. No, I think that's good. And I think that goes into like the authentic piece of it as well, because when you think about Christian hip hop and how it's evolved and now it's becoming on bigger, larger platforms, and we have social media too, because when I was in school, man, all I know is Kurt came out, Kurt Franklin, that is, and my
mhm.
mama and all the church lady was like, this man gotta go. He doing
He doing
don't know
too
what he
much.
think this is. This ain't church,
He
like
doing
he
too
ain't a
much.
gospel artist. And back then, like
Uh-huh.
Uncle Kurt was doing the bare minimum. You understand me?
Yeah,
I
for
dare not
sure.
show my mom Uncle Kurt now. Uh,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
again, like my mom is getting used to because I own my own digital Christian hip hop station, and so she's listening. She's trying to catch up. She's like, "Well, where God at? Where did Jesus?" She's trying to figure it out, right? And so when
Right.
we think about Christian hip hop, is there a parameter that it has to stay in to be considered Christian hip hop? Or what do you think, truthfully?
I think globally with all music genres that no genre has a rule set anymore. Now I
Mm,
remember hip hop used to be 16 bar verses, and now you got kids putting out songs that's like a minute and 15 seconds and it's considered hip hop. But
right, right.
in the past, if you'd have gave me anything less than 3/16,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have been frustrated with you. Like I'd have been like, this ain't hip hop. So I don't think I think the better question is what's effective.
Mm,
What is a person's goal and what's effective? And let them operate in that, right? So if
mm-hmm.
the person says my goal is to win souls for Christ through
Right.
hip hop, then the question now is, are they being effective at that? But then
Mm,
the next question is, if a person is like, I'm a Christian and I just want to make people happy with music, That's a
Right.
different set of goals and a whole different audience. And I think this idea of there's this big conglomerate that's like Christian hip hop, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that even exists for hip hop, pop, rock, country. I think the world is everything's democratized. Everybody gets to have what they want. So now it's just, are you effective in building the audience for what you want, or are you not effective? So that's
Right.
my opinion.
I like that. And I think, leaning into that, because you gave some great advice. I guess the question would be this: if there's some new walk in faith artists, right? Or even seasoned artists who are CHH artists, what advice can you give them for longevity in that music environment? Because you have a lot of new artists that are coming about in Christian hip hop. And I get calls and are like, "Hey, how you do marketing? How you go about this?" And I'm like, "Baby, I do poetry." Uh, but I want you to kind of share with like them, on their journey. You kind of already spared into it, but is there anything to add to that to maybe help them see a bigger light in their journey as a new Christian hip hop artist?
That's good. So I remember I went through a season, and I still do this. I'm really into finance. I'm into day trading. I'm into watching the markets. I just like watching the markets.
Yeah.
I like being able to see, man, I could see the price of a company grow over time,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
When I first started, I was like trying to like time every part in the market. If it go up $1, I'm trying to, buy it and then trying to sell it going up. And I was just like in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And I lost so much money,
I believe it.
a lot. And then a couple years later, I looked at all the companies I was in and out, in and out, in and out,
Mhm.
in and out on. If I'd have just bought one time
Yep.
and just held till now,
Yep.
that I'd have made so much more money. Like
Yep.
it'd have been crazy. And I
Yep.
say the same thing for you as artists.
Yeah.
Don't don't be in a rush. Don't try to have everything now. Like be okay with investing and getting
Mhm.
incremental gains. You might only make 1, 2%.
Yeah.
If you might only make one fan a day. That's
Yeah.
365 fans in a year, right?
Come on.
When you look up. And then over time, that becomes exponential. Because
Yeah.
the way growth works, it's not okay, you get one and then you get another and then another. Eventually you get one, and then that one turns to two, and then that two turns to four, then that four
Yeah.
turns to eight. Usually the growth becomes exponential in that way. And then
Yeah.
you get to a certain place to where it booms. And when you see these guys blow up overnight, it's because most of them had years and years of just getting one or two people onto their motion and their wave. So
Yeah.
that's why most artists crash out, is they just don't have a plan to be able to grow in that way. That's why I created on my website, you go to derekminer.com/services. Like I
Hmm.
do consultations with artists. They can grab my time. We get an hour of time and we sit and talk
That's.
about how they can grow
Hmm.
exponentially. And that's my big thing. It's just like take your time, build it right, build a solid foundation. You don't want to be the guy that goes viral that doesn't have a system.
Mm.
And then now you're just going viral for no reason.
Reason. Yeah, and can't even keep it up, because that's what you see. A lot of people, they'll show up and then it's like, okay, y'all remember so and so?
Where they go? Yeah. Where they
Where
at?
they at?
We used to
You
call
see
them
them.
one hit wonders. You know
Hey,
what
they
I'm
be
saying?
bagging your groceries. You be like, don't I know you? And
Uh-huh.
it's real, because they have to go back to reality. Because again, that plan is so big. I know you talked about community and you're just like, say, hey, go to services, let's talk, so forth. Why is that so important? Not only in the Black community, but just in general. For us to have that community, and you offering that up, because you could be like, hey, I'm beyond that.
Man. Well, it's because one, I get value by giving back,
Yeah.
right? And I get value by in teaching. I'm everybody's not built that way. I am. I like teaching. I
Mm.
like helping people. Um, but also when I look at successful people, like I've had a chance to be around some billionaires, I've had a chance to be around some millionaires, and I had a chance to be around some people with great influence. The consistent thing about all of them is that they one give back a lot.
Yes,
That's consistent. Most
absolutely.
of the guys I know, you may not know they're giving back, but they're giving away to something. They're
Yeah.
investing in something.
Yeah.
And then two, they have a community. And they're not all the same people. They have a community of people that's a little further than them. They
Yep.
have a community of people that's right where they're at. And then
Mm-hmm.
they have a community of people that's a little bit that earlier in the journey. And
Right.
what that does is that keeps you sharp. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the benefit of community. But pride will tell you, I don't need nobody, I'm gonna do it myself.
Right.
And you may be able to do it yourself, but you won't be able to scale it yourself.
That scaling, boy.
That's and scaling is the biggest thing that most people have a problem with. It's not building something.
Yeah.
Most people can build something on their own. It's
Yeah.
scaling it to the point of profitability is that most people struggle with. You
Yes.
can't,
No, that's
can't
good.
do that by yourself.
No, that's good. I love it. Well, we're wrapping up. Listen, y'all, your brother dropped some things down on us today. Okay. So share with anybody or share with the listeners, really not anybody, but everybody. I know you talked about the project that you got coming up. Anything else they could check out that you got going on now? And by the way, your
Yeah.
emoji with the face on it. Where did that come from? Like, what was the thought process of
The
that?
smiley face.
Yes.
Man, now I have to give credit to my homeboy Garrison. He
Okay.
does my branding, and
Yeah.
he was like, man, I was telling him about the project, and he was like, bro, like you just it's the smiley face, man. Like you're like that's you, and
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
rocking with it ever since. So yeah,
Okay, dope. Yeah.
it's
So
hand drawn. He drew it himself.
did he? Yeah, because I'm telling you, I was telling somebody about you, and I was like, yeah, just when you type in his name, I said you'll see a smiley face. That's how you know you're on the right track. And I was like, oh, I see it. Like I see it. I was like, yes, you do. So,
Yeah, yeah.
any projects that we should be looking out from Derek Biter coming up this year?
Yeah, so I'm working on a mixtape.
Okay.
Um, so I'm working over a couple different tracks. So that's cool. I got multiple projects. Just the main thing, follow me on all the social media platforms, turn on notifications and all that. And
Yeah.
let's stay in touch. And yeah, it's love. DerekMiner.com for everything else.
There you go, y'all. Well, we appreciate you for spending time with Crown Radio, my brother. We on the third, fourth conversation, technically. But we thank God for us in full completion. Amen.
Hey,
We
come
get it
on.
done. So thank you, brother, for spending some time with Crown Radio. We appreciate you.
Much love, Queen.